Hello and welcome to Current Wave. I'm your host, Ayla Wayman, and in this podcast, we meander through our shared delusions and stumble into ethereal shit-talking as we dive into the waves of the human experience. I'm so grateful to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that you enjoy the ride.
Hi, everyone. Hi. This episode is about receiving. A lot of the women that I work with struggle to receive and receive in a way that feels good to the system with money, with support. And instead of talking directly about money today, we're going to talk about men because honestly, the energetics are the same. And Ayla and I are laughing at ourselves all the ways that we thwart the men in our lives trying to generously give to us. We're living in a time when it's kind of common for men to get shit on by women and women to collude to be like, oh, this guy I'm dating, he sucks so bad. And then all the girls be like, oh yeah, men, and fuck men.
The masculine.
We don't need men.
Masculinity.
Anything a man can do, I can do better. Literally, a man is not a plan, all the things. And especially coming from the world of money, when women got into money 5 or 10 years ago, when it got popular suddenly for women to be talking about investments, or at least from my perspective, when it came out, that was all a man is not a plan. It was so feminist, but in a toxic way. So
we've just been exchanging stories. And this is something that we kind of talk about constantly because I think both of us love men and we're really interested in interdependence and healthy relationships with men and finding our own balance of masculine and feminine energy and looking at the places that we've been in our lives that have been shaped by our childhood and our experiences and how we've been in our masculine in different ways. And then now coming to this stage where we're both craving a really aligned partnership to build a life with a masculine man, which requires the feminine to be in her feminine. If that's the dynamic that you choose, there's no right or wrong. It's just being really honest with your own energetic and what you actually desire. And I think that's a big part of just identifying that and building from that. But even just more generally speaking, this overcorrection has been important to empower women. It is important for women to have independence in a way that wasn't the case, not even being able to open your own bank account without a man. We needed this arc. And now I think what's being asked of us collectively is to find more harmony.
yeah, now it's I can open my own door, but I will allow you to open it and I will be thankful and grateful.
Yeah, there's so many times when I actually witness this in public all the time of a man opening a door and a woman being like, oh, I've got it. I've got it. Right?
Got it.
We have to kind of prove that we've got it and we can take care of ourselves. And that doesn't really create any space to receive in our lives. We need a more circular internal dynamic.
Yeah. And it seems like a small thing, right? But if we can't even receive from someone opening a door for us, how are we going to receive something even more generous from a partner or from a boss? Even compliments, receiving compliments is really hard.
How many times does someone out in the world say, oh my gosh, that's such a beautiful dress? And you're like, oh, I just found this in the trash.
It was $4.
It was $4. That's nothing. Don't worry about it. This isn't a real.
Or we're like, no, your dress is so nice.
And so I'm just being like, wow, thank you.
Wow, thank you. So we're going to talk about that with men because honestly, we're crazy, right? And the cool thing about Ayla and I is we both have our own reasons for growing up and being overly masculine. And we had to do that for different reasons with fathers and structure and finances. And both of us kind of did that. And now we're coming to a place where we love men, want to integrate men back into society in a positive way. And it really is a great lens and a great mirror to look through and at in order to understand our relationship with money and receiving in general.
Yeah. It's really important.
So what happened basically to kick this off was I've been speaking with a man who specializes in private security. And I just bought this beautiful home and he offered to do a little inspection. And from the moment we started speaking about it, in my mind, I was already like, how am I going to be compensating this man? So we met for coffee. We talked about the house. We talked about what I was interested in, why I was interested in it, yada, yada. So he came over, he brought his son. I felt so cared for. The moment he was here, I felt safer. Just oh, wow, someone I know and trust is going to be looking at my home and telling me how I can stay safe as a woman in the world. And that felt so good. And he spent maybe like an hour here. His kid was like hanging out with my chickens, like the whole thing. It was great. And then he sent me a very long write up of like all the things I could do, what he would recommend. He offered to like source the materials, do the install. Like he just offered, and offered. And at the end of this email was a very small amount of money for doing the work. And then it also had said that there was a consultation fee that he was waiving because I was like a neighbor and a friend. And so I was like put in this position where the whole time I'm thinking like, how can I compensate this man? And then he offers me this 4-figure gift. And I'm just like, oh, what do I say? How can I make it even? Like I was trying in my mind to deflect. No, like I took too much of his time. I'm not worthy of that. And then eventually I just had to talk myself down and be like, listen, this person is offering you something because they want to. And the most generous thing you can do is to share your experience of feeling so cared for, so safe. Men love that. So
Yeah.
I just sent him a voice note being like, wow, I feel so cared for. I feel like safer already. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. And like, that's such a generous offer. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But I was like,
Yeah, like having that internal dialogue with yourself, that thrashing of like trying to compensate and not receive it. And you went through the internal arc, and then what did you do?
I mean, I accepted the offer of the work and also the offer of not paying for the inspection, the 4-figure inspection.
Yeah, and what you said to me is that you sent him like a kind, open-hearted voice note about that and like
Mhm.
thanking him.
Yeah, it felt really good in the end. But yeah, I just went through every cycle of like, no, how do I reject? How do I deflect? No, how do I make it even? And
Yeah.
finally I was like, okay, no, how do I just like receive this and let that be a good practice?
I think the making it even is such a big thing because it's sort of like it doesn't feel like we're worthy
Yes.
of that, even though that's a very high level word maybe to use. Maybe it feels more low key than that, but I think at the root, there is this like you have to be kind of like sitting on your own little mountaintop of like, I am worthy of receiving. I am able to just be and still receive, which is a really feminine energetic.
Yeah. And deserving, right? That D
Yeah.
word. This came up a lot on the retreat. The word
Yeah,
deserving is like
deserving.
very uncomfortable for so many of us.
It's really interesting.
That's how we got to this place of like chatting about that.
Yeah.
And I know you have some stories too that you wanted to share.
Yeah, I just went to New York with my partner and I had just a really beautiful experience there. And I'm with someone for the first time where these masculine feminine dynamics are coming out in a more noticeable way for me. I also haven't been in a relationship since I've sort of been interested in this work and this lineage and this way of thinking about this. And so I'm kind of tracking all of these things. And I was in New York and my partner was providing for me in the most specific, intense way. And it was really putting me in my feminine. I was just in this hotel room and he's just coming in and ordering me food and like doing these things and planning and organizing and holding the container.
And taking sexy photos.
Yeah, I was really in my feminine and being really held in that. And I felt myself in my feminine energy. I've not traveled with a man who's looking out for me in these certain ways and buying my tickets and doing this and really creating this experience for me in this very masculine contained way.
Love that for you.
It's new to me. It's honestly freaks my system out a little bit because I'm like, well, what do you mean I can relax? But I was surrendering to that and really allowing him to provide for me. And I think I was in that energy. And then I left the trip and I was flying home alone and I went to the airport and I was just like, dee, dee, very much in my feminine energy. I was sick. I was kind of out of it. And in the security line, this man in front of me saw that I had a roller bag and my little purse. And he was just like, can I take that for you? And we hadn't had any contact. We weren't chatting. We hadn't interacted. He just turned around and he saw that I had a bag and he was like, can I take that for you? And he just took it. And in that moment, I was really open to receiving that. I was like, damn, I'm in my feminine energy because when you're in your feminine energy, I also think the world starts providing in that way. I just instantly was like, that's because I'm in my feminine energy and people want to do things for me just for being. And so he just took my bag through security, like put it in the machine, like did all of the things. And it wasn't flirtatious. It wasn't transactional. It was truly just a gift. He was just doing his thing and providing for me. And I was just able to easily walk through security without holding my bag.
And that's such a good example to me because oftentimes when someone offers us something, we're trying to understand why they're offering it to us,
Yeah.
right? Like, what do they want from us? What's the reason they're offering it? And in this case, it's so blatant and clear that like this guy didn't want anything.
No.
He just wanted to put your bag on the thing to be nice and then like walk away.
Truly, like he didn't even want to exchange with my feminine energy. He didn't want anything from me. And I felt it very specifically because I was just aware in that moment. But previously, there have been moments where I would be like, no, I've got it. Like, I can do this. But I was just in my feminine truly. And so I was able to recognize what was happening and just let him lead.
This also reminds me, which is a little bit of an aside, but Jillian, one of my feminine mentors, used to say, like, you're safer as a woman walking in your feminine down the street than like being guarded. And that's because men feel like a rise up of masculine energy to protect, provide, and do things for you when you're in your feminine. So that's such a good example of like, you're in your feminine from New York, and this guy's just like, yeah, let me help you with your shit. Let me help you.
Just at JFK, like in the airport line, which was kind of chaotic. I actually didn't feel necessarily safe, but I had just been placed in my feminine energy so hard all week that I was still riding that high.
Versus when you got back with the mechanic situation, right? Yes.
Right. Then I got back. Then I'm kind of like landing, resettling. And then because my partner's not here with me, I'm getting back in my energy. I'm working, I'm doing, I'm like on the go. And I had scheduled an appointment with my mechanic to do some work on my car. And then I was sick. So I called them that morning and I was like, hey, I'm sick. I can't bring my car in this morning. And they called me back an hour later and they were like, actually, can we just come pick up your car for you? And instantly I was like, what do you mean? They're probably a 30-minute drive away and they're just going to come pick up my car. And I instantly was like, well, I don't know. I probably will be better in a few days. And like, I can do it. And then I kind of was like, okay, why am I rejecting this? But I was instantly on guard. I was instantly like, I can do this. I'll figure it out. I'll be better. No, no, no. Like really pushing away this generous offer. And I was like, do you even know my address? And he was like, oh yeah, you still live here, right? Like we can just come get it. Because it felt like too much of a burden. I felt guilty that I couldn't do my end of the bargain of bringing my car to the mechanic. And they were like, well, just come do it. And then I needed my car that day, actually, so that didn't happen. But still, that offer was so generous that it shocked my system. Like, I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah. And we were talking about that one. I was like, just tell them to come get your car. That's amazing. Like, great.
Truly, like,
great. Let them do it. Maybe they really need the work. Who knows? Maybe you'd be doing them a favor. I'm sure they wouldn't offer it unless they genuinely wanted that.
Totally.
You never know what's behind it.
I think that's a really big thing too of we have to like get into this place where we can trust the masculine enough to know that what they are offering is on them. That if we think they're overextending or doing this thing, like that's actually their responsibility.
It's not our business.
It's not our business. Caretake. Because it's a caretaking thing of like, oh, is that going to like put them out? But I would love for you to speak about the feminine being inconvenient.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to me, inherently the feminine is inconvenient, right? Because our experience of feeling all the things and being all the things, like being a different person every day, hormonally, energetically. It's like right now I'm excited and ovulating and like a total alien. And 2 weeks ago, you were excited and ovulating and a total alien. And we just like passed that baton. And in 2 weeks, I'm going to be like, oh, no, I think I should stay in bed today. I better just stay in bed today and like read and, salt.
It's really riding that internal wave that's driven by a lot of things for the feminine, that's driven by our hormonal experience changing literally every day and our tether to the underworld and the void and this weird energetic space that gives us this intel that is not logical, is not tangible, but is this thread that the feminine is just deeply connected with because we have a womb and that connects us to the void.
The void.
The void.
And at least in our lineage, right? Like men at their highest, most spiritual identity are just consciousness and presence. And that manifests in different ways with them having like more drive and direction. And women at their like most highest spiritual beingness we are love. And that translates into emotions and light and like whoop, that riding the wave all the time. So it's like I can be so excited and in 2 minutes I can be having a meltdown like a toddler and then back to like totally manic and excited 3 minutes later and be like, oh my God, life is so amazing.
And I think with that, a really beautiful opportunity there, I think that for women to be in that experience of love and joy and pleasure and juiciness, she needs to feel safe and protected. And like that is the masculine role of holding the container, creating the container so that we can be this wild experience that they actually really want.
It's actually very juicy for them to get
They're like, holy
life
shit,
through
she is like this radiant, wild, creature, alien goddess, they are
Uh,
obsessed with that.
and they're in their little square concrete world, and we're just color and energy and magnetism and joy. And that is the inherent gift that we give to the masculine. So when they're giving and offering us, the best thing we can do is just like receive and reflect back all of that joy and radiance and beauty that we inherently are. That's at the core of the receiving. And that's why it is such a gift just to receive from the masculine instead of deflecting.
I think so. I think it's really important. And I think that there's levels. I have seen myself going on this journey of learning how to receive. And it does start with kind of allowing strangers to pick up your groceries, to open a door, to help you at the airport. And then there's so many layers. And I also was really confronted earlier in this relationship where I'd never been in a relationship where someone wanted to buy me anything.
Yeah.
And my partner expressed desire to buy me things and for this to be this fun experience for us. And I mentally was like, wow, that sounds so fun. Like, I want to do that. So I got really excited and really hyper on it. But we had this amazing weekend together, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go buy these things and I'm going to do this. So I went to the store and I like picked out this lingerie and I bought them, and he had okayed it before. He was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'll just pay or whatever you want. Go for it. And I got into the car and I just went into like a panic attack. I was freaking out because I had never bought something that expensive for myself. And I felt so guilty buying something that felt outrageous to me. It felt insane. And it wasn't like crazy expensive. It was just I hadn't ever reached that threshold. It wasn't something I would buy for myself. And I felt so guilty asking him for that. I think especially because it was like I bought it with my own money and then he was reimbursing me and I had to be like, this is the receipt. I was so confronted with that. I was like, actually, I do not have the capacity to receive at this level. It was like too much. Once I did it and I completely crashed out, I was like in tears in the
Wow.
car. I don't deserve this. It went back to that deservingness. Like I should be like finding this secondhand on Depop for $3. That was my level of capacity of receiving in the material way that was very specific. I didn't have the capacity for it. And then I was like crying and freaking out and then came to him and he was like,
This was supposed to be fun.
I mean, he's really gracious and loving and like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you're having
Yeah.
this experience. Like, you don't need to have this experience. This is totally fine. And he was just, wow, it's so interesting that you're at this space. How
Yeah.
can I support you? I was very supportive.
That's a great example too, because again, another thing that we see a lot with like the women on the retreat or women that work with us on money, right, is that they struggle to spend money on themselves. Even when
Yeah.
they've put in the work of like getting good with their money and they have the money to spend and they can afford it. And it's no longer like irresponsible. It's actually responsible at that point to be spending money on yourself. And they still really struggle. They feel guilty or scared or, all kinds of things come up, stories come up like, gosh, you're spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
You're not going to be safe or you're not actually worth it. You think that just goes away when you have money, but it doesn't.
Yeah, because
really
it's an
doesn't.
inside job. It's about like your internal state. And for me, it was up-leveling my capacity to receive. I was able to receive this idea of this experience. And then I didn't have the energetic capacity to actually go through the
Yeah.
whole thing, freaking my system out. I'm being too much. I'm asking for too much. I'm presenting too much.
It's interesting. I almost think of like in the past, if I had been in that situation, but sometimes I would almost be the one to suggest it. And in that case, it's like you're in control and it feels a little less scary to receive. But it reminds me of like that energetic of like asking versus just receiving. And it's so much scarier when it's like not your idea and you're not in control.
Yeah, but to me, it's almost like he was presenting it. So it was clearly something he wanted. It was me like rejecting something that he had been like, I would love for us to do this together. I was so inspired by it. I was so turned on, not from an actual arousal space, but from a heart space. Even it lit me up so intensely, but it was beautiful learning for me and really showed me, oh,
That story.
I can expand my capacity here to receive. I think that this is also a sneaky thing because I think that being in our power and our independence makes us feel like I can do anything. And it's really not about taking that away from the feminine. It's about just creating space for things to come to us.
Yeah.
Because if we're in our masculine as women, pushing, doing, it doesn't really allow for also miracles and the unknown and really interesting things that we want, if we're pushing too hard, there's no space for them to land.
Yeah, we wanna be dancing with the mystery of life and, like, leaving room open for things like that, and even in my last relationship, I would say, like, "Oh, but I can do it," or "Don't worry, like, I'll
Mm,
do it," and he was like, "I know you can do it, but, like, I wanna do it for you," and that's the same when people say, like, "I don't want a man, I don't need a man," it's like, you don't need one, but, like, it's actually really juicy to be able to receive that and
it's
have that
really nice.
support. It could be really nice. It can make your life a lot easier and nicer, you
And there
know?
are really good, beautiful men in the world. And I think that, especially coming into that belief, you will be proven that that is true time
Yeah.
and again. That will become abundance.
And in the same way that like life wants to provide for you, like whether that's money or men in general, like having that trust and feeling like a cherished daughter of God or a cherished daughter of the universe or whatever you believe, so that you can actually receive all that juicy goodness that wants to come to you. So we're just out here being wild.
Out here learning how to receive from the universe and men and money.
Oh, that's it. I will say I've been going down like a David Data rabbit hole, rereading a bunch of David Data, and he talks about like three phases of masculine and feminine. The first one is where you are just extracting from the other person. So like
Mm,
you're getting money from a man, you're giving sex, you're taking care of the household, but it's pretty like we're just using each other a little bit. And then the next phase is more like interdependent. It's like I was used in my last relationship. I'm going to be independent now. I can do everything for myself and we're going to be like 50-50 and more equal, but it's really not sexy and you lose a lot of the like energetic polarity and juiciness in the relationship where it's like we're just co-parenting, co-partners.
yeah, it's a little stale.
And then the final one is like reintegrating back into like your natural essence of either masculine or feminine. We're still like doing some of the same things, but we're like playing with subtler energies and learning to receive and learning to like really bring what is deep in our being out. So it feels like a lot of us are stuck in that equality phase in this phase of humanity. And yeah, I think the next step is to like make life juicy again, make life sexy again.
I think that's really important. I think that's what a lot of us are craving
Yeah.
on a deeper level.
Or you're totally triggered by this episode and you hate every moment of it, in which
That's
case, like, that would totally have been me 5 years ago. I would be cringing so
like
fucking hard.
Treadless. Oh my God. So funny.
All right. Well, thanks for honoring us by listening to this wild episode that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We hope you love it or hate it. And either way, I hope it's
Either
for
way.
you.
Bye.